Someone walks toward MOYA, expecting a robot. Then she looks back. Her eyes track them across the room. She holds eye contact. Her expression shifts, not dramatically, not mechanically, just enough. And for a second, your brain starts treating the thing in front of you less like a machine and more like a person. And if you reach for her hand, you're not touching cold metal. Her skin is designed to sit around human body temperature, close enough that your brain immediately treats the touch as familiar. That's the moment people stop being able to explain what they're experiencing. Not because MOYA is perfect, not because she's indistinguishable from a human, but because the brain, for just a moment, stops being certain. And once that certainty disappears, everything else changes. And that moment is the whole story. MOYA is a humanoid robot from Shanghai-based DroidUp. She stands about 1.65 meters tall and weighs roughly 32 kilograms. Those numbers don't matter. What matters is what happens the moment she starts paying attention to you. Behind her eyes are cameras that track faces and maintain eye contact. Her face produces smiles, nods, blinks, and subtle expression changes. That sounds straightforward until you're standing in front of it, because the moment the face reacts while the eyes stay locked on yours, your brain stops processing it as a display. It starts processing it as a presence. Then there's the skin. DroidUp uses a soft silicone-like exterior with temperature control that keeps the surface at roughly 32 to 36 degrees Celsius. Beneath that exterior, DroidUp uses a biomimetic body structure designed to make the robot feel less rigid and mechanical. She doesn't just look human, she registers as warm to the touch. And warmth is a signal the nervous system doesn't consciously process. It just responds. And then she moves. The body is built around a flexible torso designed to distribute movement more naturally. Rigid joints expose a robot instantly. When a body stops moving like a machine and starts following familiar human rhythms, something changes in how it's perceived. You stop seeing a mechanism performing motion. You start seeing a shape moving through space the way bodies move. Her appearance is the first signal. Her warmth is the second. Her movement is the third. None of these features needs to be perfect to work. They just need to be close enough. Close enough that your brain, running its pattern recognition in the background, starts filing MOYA in the wrong category. And that's only the first layer. DroidUp says MOYA's walking pattern reaches about 92% similarity to a human gait. That's the company's own claim, not an independently verified measurement. But watch the movement, and the number becomes almost irrelevant. What stands out is the absence of the thing people expect. The stiff, obviously mechanical rhythm that immediately exposes a robot. We recognize the natural rhythm of human movement long before we consciously start analyzing it. You don't calculate joint angles or stride length. You simply know when a body looks natural. When that signal becomes familiar, one of the easiest ways to identify a robot quietly disappears. Then MOYA starts adding the details people process without realizing it. A smile, eye contact, a nod, a small shift in posture, a change in expression as the interaction unfolds. Human interaction is almost never just words. We constantly read timing, facial expression, and physical presence without thinking about it. MOYA is being built around those same cues. Now imagine standing in front of her. First, your eyes register the face. Then the movement pattern reinforces it. Then the face reacts specifically to you. Then, if you reach out, the warmth confirms what the other signals were already suggesting. sight, movement, reaction, touch. 4 different signals, all telling your brain exactly the same story. Not everyone reacts the same way. Online footage of MOYA has drawn people who find her fascinating and people who find her unsettling. Sometimes the same person at the same time. They're fascinated by how close she gets and unsettled by the parts that still feel wrong. That split reaction is significant because uncertainty is exactly where the illusion becomes strongest. DroidUp has also positioned MOYA for human-facing scenarios involving elder care, companionship, and public service. The important point isn't what she can do autonomously in any specific moment. It's where people will eventually stop expecting a machine altogether. The strange thing isn't that MOYA can imitate human signals. It's that people begin responding to the imitation the same way they respond to the real thing. And once that happens, the question stops being about robot design. It becomes a question about human perception, and where the line between responding to a person and responding to a very convincing representation actually sits. MOYA isn't arriving alone, but she's solving a problem most humanoid robots never tried to solve. Most are being built to work. MOYA is being built to be accepted. Boston Dynamics is pushing Atlas toward industrial deployment. Factories, warehouses, real physical labor beside human workers. That's impressive because it proves robots can work. MOYA is asking a completely different question. What happens when people stop thinking about the machine altogether? That's a much more complicated problem. A factory robot working beside people doesn't need to feel human. It needs to function. But a robot entering the spaces where people go for care, guidance, or simply to be acknowledged, that machine faces a completely different requirement. Appearance stops being cosmetic. The way the interaction feels becomes part of whether the technology works at all. And MOYA is no longer appearing only in controlled product demonstrations. In 2026, DroidUp put her into public-facing roles at major events, including bilingual presenting and live broadcasting at the World AI Conference. DroidUp says MOYA is intended for human-facing environments, including elder care, public services, reception, and cultural settings. Those aren't places where people expect to meet a robot. They're places where people expect to meet another person. The direction is already visible. And the direction is toward machines that don't just function in human spaces, but quietly become part of them. Right now, most people identify a robot within seconds. Cold surface, mechanical movement, a face that clearly isn't alive. Those signals create psychological distance. The brain knows how to classify the interaction and responds accordingly. MOYA starts removing those signals one by one. She looks human. She moves more like a human. She makes eye contact and holds it. Her face reacts in real time. Her skin registers as warm. And she's being positioned for the exact environments where people already expect to be greeted, assisted, taught, or cared for by another person. Imagine an elderly person spending extended time with a caregiver whose face responds naturally, whose hand feels warm, whose expressions shift in ways the brain recognizes as alive. Imagine a child learning from a machine whose face reacts to them, not through a screen, but with something that looks back. Imagine talking to someone for several minutes before realizing they were never human. Imagine walking into a reception area and the first presence that acknowledges you isn't a person at all. These aren't random science fiction scenarios. They're the kinds of human-facing environments DroidUp says it wants its robots to enter. The technology isn't complete. The applications are still emerging, but the direction is already visible. The real question was never whether robots would become more human. It's more uncomfortable than that. How much human behavior does a machine need to reproduce before people stop responding to it as a machine? The real breakthrough isn't that MOYA is becoming more human. It's that your brain may soon stop asking if she is.